Hello, my name is Dr. David Bray. I had the honor to serve as the Executive Director for the Bipartisan Commission on the Geopolitical Impacts of New Technologies and Data. It is an honor to address you and the attendees at the CyFy conference as we think about how what's being done in the world, how our technologies and data are shaping the world, all bring us together and think about how this relates to the recommendations from that bipartisan commission that looked at how data and technology is shaping global cooperation, global competition, and geopolitics. Now, as mentioned, this was a bipartisan commission that actually launched in 2020. Literally, we launched back on March the 11th, 2020, the same day that COVID-19 was declared a pandemic in the afternoon. The commission included two senators, Senator Mark Warner from Virginia, Senator Rob Portman from Ohio, as well as Representative Mike McCall from Texas and Representative Suzanne DelBene from Washington State. This bipartisan commission also included some impressive luminaries from academia, from the commercial sector, and thought leaders that have been looking at how the world is changing and how we must adapt with it and how we can use tech and data for good. As we looked at it, we thought about binning our recommendations into several categories, beginning with global S&T leadership, recognizing when it comes to global S&T leadership, no one nation has all the answers and we cannot go alone. At the Atlantic Council, we like to remind people that we're stronger together with allies. That same sentiment is true in our recommendations at the report. You can actually find the report online at www.atlanticcouncil.org/geotech-report. That's GEOTECH report, R-E-P-O-R-T, all one word, atlanticcouncil.org/geotech-report. Beginning with global S&T leadership, then we actually went further and we dived into the area of secure data and communications. The idea is that that's the foundation. Once we have global and S&T leadership, we're working across international boundaries, we're working across sectors to address hard problems. Then we need to have the assurance of secure data and communications, because on that rests everything else that we try to do, both for individual freedoms as well as robust economies, and how we think about a world in which we can shape a future that uplifts people, prosperity, and peace. Once we achieve that next foundation of secure data and communications, the next foundation we were thinking about was building on the idea of trust and confidence in the digital economy. This includes artificial intelligence, but it also thinks about algorithms and how we are actually interacting with all those types of machines that shape our lives. Again, going back to the original foundation of secure data and communications, as well as global S&T leadership. Once we achieve that trust and confidence in the digital economy, the next thing we were building on top of that was the idea that we need to have resilient and confidence in our supply chain. That resiliency and confidence in our supply chains is necessary because clearly what COVID-19 has demonstrated is we do have fragility. We do have disruptions, but COVID-19 is not the only disruption we need to worry about supply chains. We've also seen what happens when possibly the Suez Canal gets blocked. There's also concerns about digital disruptions and what happens if things go offline on the internet. This is necessary if we're going to continue to uplift people, prosperity, and peace, is working towards resilience and confidence in supply chains, be they physical or digital in nature. And the report was, again, put forward recommendations as to what we could do there. Again, you can find the report at www.atlanticcouncil.org/geotech-report. Building beyond that, then we actually said, once you have resilience and confidence in the supply chains, the next thing on top of that is confidence in the global health and the use of technologies for global health improvement. Clearly, this is built on COVID-19, but it's not the only concern. COVID-19 is just one part of this. It's thinking about future pathogens, but also thinking about bioterrorism. My own background does include responding to the events of 9/11, as well as later bioterrorism events, including anthrax, also dealing with the cases of SARS in 2003, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and other events between the 2000 to 2005 time period. So as we go into this world in which technologies are empowering people, we also need to recognize some may use it for less than good purposes, including in the health space. I often like to tell people the good news is personalized medicine is coming. The challenging news is we've also got to think about how personalized medicine does not become personalized poison. Once we talk about the recommendations for global health technologies, on top of that, the next foundation we had was commercial space and having an assurance that commercial space provides public benefit. We're going to face this next decade a dramatic shift, a shift from in which most of the things in orbit were government operated. Right now, there's a little bit less than 7,000 satellites to, by the end of the decade, easily 100,000 or more satellites in orbit, most of which, if not close to 99%, will be commercially operated. And that's going to raise interesting questions. How do we update our existing space treaties? How do we actually figure out how we cooperate in space and govern in space? And that's where, again, the recommendations of the Geotech Commission put forward ideas as to how we can do this across sectors and across nations. And then finally, after we have assured in that the space technologies that roll out can actually benefit the public, the last layer we had was about people and the future of work. We know disruption is coming. We know we've already experienced disruptions with the pandemic and COVID-19, which has propelled the world forward. We must have intentionality to make sure that the future of work is one that uplifts all people across sectors and nations and benefits people, prosperity, and peace for the planet. These are the recommendations that we have at the Geotech Commission report, and we, throughout it, had the thread of being intentional about the choices we make on data and technology and how we want it to shape societies, how we want it to shape global relations, how we want it to shape global cooperation. We framed that this next decade ahead is what we call the Geotech Decade, in which there are going to be these parallel series of disruptions as well as opportunities in global S&T leadership, in secure data and communications, in trust and confidence in the digital economy, in resilience and confidence in supply chains, in global health technologies, in assured that the space operations that are done, especially commercial space operations, benefit people, and mostly making sure that people and the future of work is one that uplifts all humanity. I encourage you to take a look at the report's recommendations. I encourage you to actually chime in with your thoughts. You can find us, the Atlantic Council Geotech Center, at AC Geotech on Twitter. You can also email us your thoughts at GTC, that's George Tango Charlie, GTC at atlanticcouncil.org. We welcome your recommendations. This is meant to be a report for all nations. And we've already seen success where folks in Europe, folks in Australia, folks in Singapore have seen the report and given us their comments and praise. We've also gotten commentary from the Horn of Africa, of all places. And we also look to our friends in Southeast Asia for their inputs, friends in Europe, the Middle East, South America, Latin America, Africa. This is a chance for us to work across boundaries. And again, at the Atlantic Council, we emphasize we're stronger together with allies. We really are interested in working with the country of India and other nations around the world as we think about how technologies and data can be used for good and how we can use this commission report, this bipartisan commission report with endorsements and support from members of the US Congress can at least provide a compass heading as to what we mean when we do say tech for good or data for good, and we can then have conversations about what we should do and the actions that we want to take together. Again, I thank you for this opportunity, and I'll close with what we like to say here at the Atlantic Council's Geotech Center, which is we encourage you to be bold, to be brave, and to be benevolent for the future ahead. Thank you.